हाँ जी, सत श्री अकाल जी साਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ। ਵੈਲਕਮ ਬੈਕ ਟੂ ਆਵਰ ਚੈਨਲ ਦ ਬੈਸਟ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਐਕਸਪਰਟਸ। ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਪੀਟੀ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਸ ਲਈ ਹੈ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ। ਸੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੁਐਸਚਨਸ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਸਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੈਂਡ ਸਕੋਰਸ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ ਰਹੇ, ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਕੋਰਸ ਲੈਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਕੁਝ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਟਿਪਸ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਚਾਹ ਰਿਹਾ। ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੇ ਰੀਸੈਂਟਲੀ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈ, ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਡਿਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਦੀਆਂ ਵੌਇਸ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਡੀਓ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਉਸ ਦਾ ਐਕਸੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਗੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਫਾਸਟ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਣਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕੰਪਲਿਕੇਟਡ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰੋਪਰ ਆਨਸਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਮਝ ਆਉਂਦਾ, ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਆਪਣੀ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਫਿਲ ਇਨ ਦੀ ਬਲੈਂਕਸ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਡਿਕਟੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਹਾਈਲਾਈਟਸ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰੋਪਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਾਰਕ ਕਰ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ। ਸੋ ਇਸ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਬੈਸਟ ਸੋਲੂਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਡਵਾਈਸ ਦੇ ਰਿਹਾ ਹਾਂ। ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਡੈਫੀਨਿਟਲੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਕੋਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਪਰੂਵ ਕਰੋਗੇ। ਤਾਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਕਸੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਰੈਂਡਮ ਹੈ ਐਪੀ ਯੂਨੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪ੍ਰੈਕਟਿਸ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਐਕਸੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਚੇਂਜ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਆਪਸ਼ਨ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਰੈਂਡਮ ਕਲਿੱਕ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਐਕਸੈਂਟਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚੇਂਜ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ। ਪਲੱਸ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਪੀਡ ਨੂੰ 1.25 ਔਰ 1.5 ਤੱਕ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਧਾ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਪਰੂਵ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਪਲੱਸ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਇੰਪਰੂਵਮੈਂਟ ਹੋਊਗੀ। ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਨੇ ਸਪੈਲਿੰਗਸ। ਬਹੁਤ ਬੱਚੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਡਿਕਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਟੈਂਪਲੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਪੈਲਿੰਗਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਿਸਟੇਕ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਜਿਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਓਵਰਆਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਕੋਰ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਇਫੈਕਟ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਪੈਲਿੰਗਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਧਿਆਨ ਦਿਓ। ਔਰ ਸੈਕੰਡ ਥਿੰਗ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਗਰ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਬੱਚੇ ਇਹ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਪੁੱਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਸਰ ਕਈ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਐਕਸਟਰਾ ਵਰਡ ਡਿਕਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਡ ਕਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਰੋਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਰੀਸੈਂਟਲੀ ਇੱਕ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨੇ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਇੰਸਟੀਚਿਊਟ ਤੋਂ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਹੋਰ ਕੋਚਿੰਗ ਲੈ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ, ਜਿਸ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਸਰ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੁਣਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਨਾ ਹੀ ਮੈਂ ਆਨਸਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਰਾਈਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਸੀ, ਜਿਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਸਨੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ 2 ਵਾਰ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈ, ਬਟ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਕੋਰ ਸੀ ਉਹ 50 ਅਬਵ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ। ਬਟ ਰੀਸੈਂਟਲੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਸਨੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲੇ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਕਲਾਸ ਜੁਆਇਨ ਕੀਤੀ ਤਾਂ ਉਸਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਬੈਸਟ ਟਿਪ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਮੈਂ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਵੈਸੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰ ਹੀ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਉਸ ਟਿਪ ਨੂੰ, ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਐਕਸਟਰਾ ਵਰਡ ਐਡ ਕਰੀਏ। ਅਗਰ ਹੀ ਡਿਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਅਬਾਊਟ ਦਿਸ ਤਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਡਿਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬਸ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਡਿਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬਡ, ਇਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਐਕਸਟਰਾ ਵਰਡਸ ਨੂੰ ਐਡ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿ ਡੈਫੀਨਿਟਲੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਕੋਰਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਪਰੂਵ ਕਰੋਗੇ। ਸੈਕੰਡ ਹੈ, ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਦੀ। ਦੇਖੋ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਤੇ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਟਰਕਨੈਕਟਡ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਕੋਰਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ। ਰੀਸੈਂਟਲੀ ਸਾਡੇ 4 ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਕੋਰਸ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਚੈੱਕ ਕਰ ਹੀ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, ਸਾਡੀ ਰੀਲਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਡਡ ਹੈ, ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, ਸ਼ਾਰਟਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਸਕੋਰ ਕੀਤੇ ਨੇ। ਬਟ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 2 ਜਿਹੜੇ ਐਸੇ ਆਏ ਸੀ। ਸੋ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ 2 ਐਸੇ ਕਰਵਾਉਣਾ ਹੈ, ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਅਗਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ 1 ਐਸੇ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਫਾਈਨਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ 1 ਐਸੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਸਨੂੰ ਰਾਈਟ ਡਾਊਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਐਸੇ ਕੰਪਲੀਟ ਕਰ ਦੇਣ, ਐਸੇ ਸਬਮਿਟ ਕਰ ਦੇਣ। ਬਟ ਇਨ ਕੇਸ ਅਗਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਥੇ 2 ਐਸੇ ਜਾਂ 2 ਸਮਰੀ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੇ ਇੱਕ ਅਲਟਰਨੇਟਿਵ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ 2 ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੈਟਰਨ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ 2 ਫਾਰਮੂਲੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਜੋ ਟੈਂਪਲੇਟ ਹੈ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਦਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਰੈਪੀਟੀਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ, ਇੱਕ AI ਨੂੰ ਇਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ, ਪੀਅਰਸਨ ਨੂੰ ਇਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਸਨੇ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਕਾਪੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ। ਦੇਖੋ ਨੋ ਡਾਊਟ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਟੈਂਪਲੇਟ ਨੇ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਚਾਹੇ ਸਪੀਕਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਫੋਲੋ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਸਾਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰਕੇ ਹੀ ਸਕੋਰ ਗੈਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਬਟ ਇੱਕ ਬੈਸਟ ਸੋਲੂਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਣਾ। ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਡੈਫੀਨਿਟਲੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਕੋਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਪਰੂਵ ਕਰੋਗੇ। ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ 2 ਐਸੇ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਕਰ ਲਓ। ਫਸਟ ਆਫ ਆਲ, ਅਗਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਫਾਈਨਲ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 1 ਐਸੇ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ 1 ਐਸੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣਾ ਸਬਮਿਟ ਕਰਵਾ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਕੋਰਸ ਗੈਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਅਗਰ ਇਨ ਕੇਸ 2 ਐਸੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਡੈਫੀਨਿਟਲੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੂਸਰਾ ਟੈਂਪਲੇਟ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰੋ। ਸੋ ਰੀਸੈਂਟਲੀ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ 1 ਐਸੇ ਵੀ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਬਹੁਤ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ 2 ਐਸੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਟਾਸਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਔਰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ 2 ਸਮਰੀਜ਼ ਵੀ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਕਰਕੇ ਹੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਕੋਰਸ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਇੰਪਰੂਵ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ। ਸੋ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਹੋਰ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਗੈਟ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਸਬਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਮਾਈ ਚੈਨਲ। ਮਿਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅਗਲੀ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ, ਬਾਏ ਬਾਏ।
Criticism. Certainly. Fertilizer. Excellent. Intellectual. Affection. Affordable. Affinity. Genuinely. Equipment. Boost. Integrated. Interface. Varies. Enamored. Immense. Achievable. Gardener. Commentary. Featured. Pandemic. Reference. Existence. Encouraging. Fosters. Facilitate. Capacity.
Occurrence.
Achievement.
Archaeologist. Recommendation. Undergraduate. Communication. Reconciliation. Implementation. Transformation. Transportation. Identification. Consideration. Understand. International. Opportunity. Accommodation. Complementary. Manufacturing. Composition. Entertainment. Statistically. Commencement. Qualification. Circumstance. Sophisticated. Incorporate. Automatically. Participation. Postgraduate. Dissertation. Professional.
Compound.
Proofread. Comprehensive. Dictionaries. Acclimatization. Pronunciation. Thesaurus. Synonyms. Prefixes. Uppercase. Advertisement. Guarantee. Hypocrite. Enable. Influential. Potatoes. Personnel. Peace. Privilege. Cue. Receipt. Religion. Radicals. Scenery. Undoubtedly. Obedient. Exaggerate. Millionaire. Principally. Trigger. Jet. Controversy. Initially. Oceanographer. Psychological. Predicament. Contemporary. Serious. Shadow. Consciously. Introduce. Apologize. Legitimate. Irrelevant. Equally. Charity. Associate. Stare. Relationship. Pragmatic. Explain. Range. Medium. Economic. Strike. Immune. Understand.
Stabilizer. Narrative. Contentment. Efficiency. Enhancing. Inclusive. Dismantling. Equitable.
Philosophy.
Systemic. Advocating.
Misinformation. Transcends. Accessibility. Universal. Continuous. Promoting. Displacement. Consideration. Norms. Societal. Ethical. Fostering. Emotional. Medium. February. Advertising. Export. Constriction. Lifting.
Prediction. Punishment. Transportation. Variation.
Closing.
Teamwork. Monetary. Diseases. Recommendation. Board. Movements. Synthetic. Productivity. Climate. Observations. Academic. Globe. Consistently.
Technician.
Social. Manipulation. Galaxy. Distinctive. Very. Million. Individual. Objects. Philosophical. Originally. Boat.
Statistics. Mathematics. Logic. Physics. Psychology. Anthropology. Economics. Philosophy. Performing arts. Visual arts. Chemistry. Humanities. Architecture. Literature. Dictionary. Student advisor. Attendance. Deadline. Catalogue. Competition. Newsletter. Leadership. Handout. Proofreading. Experiment. Tutor. Grace period. Annual. Statement. Wednesday.
Additionally.
Supposed. Actually. Might. Progress. Division. Multiples. Accuracy. Repeatedly. Questions. Successful. Gasoline. Atmosphere. Temperature. Hourly. Maps. Practice. Widely.
Examination.
Language. Styles. Customer. Collection. Processing. Application. Accessible. Destination. Duties. Financial. Advisory.
Cassette. Tender. Scenery. Cancer. Erosion. Lightning. Introduction. International. Orchestra. Forehead. distribution, controversial, exploit, objection, bleeding, bridge, economical, perspective, pressure, conviction, normal, abnormal, ballet, attribute, temple, demonstration, property, proportional, certificate, character, chemical, experience, exposure, impressive, reception, warfare, modify, undergraduate, accident, library, literature, laboratory, volunteer, knowledge, substitution, subconscious, membership, qualification, scientific, defeat, panic, offensive, appraisal, apparently, craft, preface, Resume. Bundle. Kindness. Chemistry. Laugh. Laughter. Revolution. With. Subway. Pension. Career. Repertoire. Hopeful. Landlord. Irrigation. Twist. Information. Await. Cushion. Nervous. Neighborhood. Youthful. Psychology. Sociology. Optimization. Mysterious. Musician. Interchangeable. Burgeoning. Acknowledgement. Genius. Challenge. Hypotheses. Enormous. Entertainment. Excellent. Vernacular. Vehicular. Vehicles. Geographic. Oceanography. Photography. Nervousness. Blender. Unanswered. Unanimously. fiction, poetry, patriotism, intrinsic, misbehavior, selection, branding, fatigue, fragrance, fertilizer, presidency, university, occurrence, junction, elaborated, debate, compulsory, instruction, government, though, argument, reckless, dissertation, science, organ, working, mechanics, contributed, mental, practice, recklessness, calculation, calculator, invented, examination, weekdays, weekend, engineering, consideration, assistance, president, promptly, revolution, accommodates, Theories. Excursions. Representative. Property. Projects. Classifieds. Reimbursement. Analysis. Assumption. Businesses. Slightly. Department. Journalism. Unemployment. Deadline. Qualified. Technology. Growth. Critically. Archaeologists. Ceremony. Customer. Pollution. Commissioner. Sovereignty. Mathematical. Advantage. Assessment. Encouraging. Extended. Challenges. Theatre. Witnesses. Potential. Processes. Essential. Faculty. Management. Additional. Achieve. Necessary. Core. Fertilizer. Material. Architecture. Globally. Undergraduate. Accountancy.
Velocity. Traveling. Professional. Swimming. Underwater. Seriously. Balloons. Amazing. Homework. Calories. Advertisement. Generation. Pronunciation. Procrastination. Postponed. Employees. Thinking. Measurements. Underestimated. Nutrients. Nutrition. Parking. Fruitful. Remembering. Telecommunications. Apartment. Mercury. Registration. Communication. Structure. Withdraw. Generation. Tuesday. Artificial. Confusion. Businesses. Reception. Holidays. Abnormally. Opportunities. Agriculture. distribution, population, beginning, disease, culture, genius,
Japanese, irrelevant, boredom, coaching, spending, patriotism, partiality, gleaned, confessed, assume, mysterious, church, cluster, warmers, predicament, industrial, portraits, cluster, contract, unashamedly, socialize, oceanography, radically, equities, marketing, macromolecular, phenomenon, combination, structure, discipline, frustration, sequester, sunflower, depicted, reputation, Essential. Mysterious. Colleagues. Trapped. Urgency. Hydrogen. Symptoms. Visualization. Bargains. Overseas.
Announced. Countries. Treaty. French. Families. Insurance. Reputation. Companies. Concentrate. Accommodates. Learner. Alternative. Agriculture. Recruiting. Entirely. Postgraduate. Assistance. General. Represent. Competitive. Library. Suggested. Systematic. Interests. Several. Carrying. Transportation. Habitat. Classified. Talented. Promptly. Reporting. Contributed. Artificial. Intended. Communities. Interviewed. Camping. Management. Frequently. Danger. Business. Activity. Specialist. Decline. Decades. Training. Accuracy. Temporary. Election. Engaging. Assigned. Solution. Guidelines. Difficult. Building. Slightly. Agreement. Examine. Lectures. Unavoidable. Conscious. Articles. Dissertations. Encouraged. Geography. Objectives. Employment. Interim. Statement. Solution. Scalpel. Skills. Slightly. Campus. Leaflets. Engineering. Construct. Elective. Excursions. Experience. Argument. Theories. Relevant. Scientists. Popularity. Colossal. Structure. Magnificent. Magnitude. Intertwined. Patterns. Partners. Expense. Complexity. Creative. Poverty. Committed. Consideration. Critically. Interests. Internet. Consumers. Customers. Reception. Recap. Rented. Remotely. Prevent. Causes. Analyze. Logically. Granted. Likelihood. Illness. Advantage. Distance. Calculation. Lecture. Unusual. Wanted. Limitations. Mass. Between. Magazine. Chamber. Changeable. Resignation. Resign. Revaluation. Reporting. Recommendation. Prospect. Response. Respected. Illustration. Breakthrough. Reversal. Extraction. Extended. Extracurricular. Enterprises. Released. Underneath. Zoology. Coconut. Macromolecular. Optional. Optimistic. Windows. Correlation. Contain. Treasure. Strength. Alternative. Dedicated. Soothing. Frustrating.
Architecture. Materials. Responsible. Foundation. Mathematics. Considered. Presidential. thousands, traders, collection, currently, examination, placements, journalism, industries, politicians, proactive, addressing, essential, chemistry, entrance, attendance, statistical, extremely, balance, departments, increasingly, discussed, different, canteen, relatively, financial, complexity, academic, investigate, undergraduate, country, climate, winter, requires, persistence, motivation, school, located, education, meeting, weekend, Borrow. Divided. Branches. Awarded. Format. Return. Experiments. Bringing. Jurisdiction. Triangle. Enormously. Interpretation. Broadened. Extended. Assignment. Primary. Evidence. Sources. Draining. Scenarios. Encounter. Diploma. Withdraw. Penalty. Senior. Content. Capitals. Registration. Discovered. Historical. Appreciate. Arrange. Introduction. Sentences. Beggar. Laughed. Draft. Submitting. Administered. Regular.
From the earliest civilizations, plants and animals have been portrayed as a means of understanding and recording their potential uses, such as their economic and healing properties. From the first illustrated catalogue of medicinal plants, the Materia Medica by Dioscorides, in the 1st century, through to the late 14th century, the illustration of plants and animals changed very little. Woodcuts in instructional manuals and herbals were often repeatedly copied over the centuries, resulting in a loss of definition and accuracy so that they became little more than stylized decoration. With the growing popularity of copperplate engravings, the traditional use of woodcuts declined and the representation of plants and animals became more accurate. The supply of a thing, in the phrase, supply and demand, is the amount that will be offered for sale at each of a series of prices. The demand is the amount that will be bought at each of a series of prices. The principle that value depends on supply and demand means that in the case of nearly every commodity, more will be bought if the price is lowered, less will be bought if the price is raised. Therefore sellers, if they wish to induce buyers to take more of a commodity than they are already doing, must reduce its price. If they raise its price, they will sell less. If there is a general falling off in demand, due, say, to trade depression, sellers will either have to reduce prices or put less on the market. They will not be able to sell the same amount at the same price. Similarly with supply. At a certain price a certain amount will be offered for sale, at a higher price more will be offered, at a lower price less. If consumers want more, they must offer a higher price. If they want less, they will probably be able to force prices down. That is the first result of a change in demand or supply.
Some children may need to learn to stand up for their own ideas, especially when these do not conform to those of the rest of the group. But children also need to learn discretion, so that they can judge when it is appropriate to be divergent and original, and when it is appropriate to conform. The creative process is fun, it should not be taken too seriously. Creativity may seem like a fun, self-indulgent activity to counteract the more serious work of the classroom. But the creative process presents many challenges. It requires concentration, persistence and determination to succeed. It may in fact be a frustrating and difficult process. Creativity deserves to be taken seriously.
Adults, therefore, can act as supporters and coaches, facilitators and models of creativity for children. But on the other hand, adults also have the potential to stifle opportunities for creativity by being overly didactic or prescriptive. They can limit creativity by discouraging fantasy or by having low expectations about what young children are able to achieve.
Children do benefit from free play and unstructured arts activities. But left entirely to their own devices, children's play and artwork can become routine and repetitive. Children need stimulation and creative problems to solve. Adults can help children to develop their creative skills through play.
The Arts Council of England asked the NFER to summarize recent research and theory on creativity in early childhood. The work entailed a selective review of research and theory published between 1988 and 2000 and resulted in a briefing paper on the subject. This article sets out to update the earlier paper and to identify some of the principles involved in helping young children to develop their creativity in early years settings. Teaching and learning has the opportunity to explore more deeply into a subject, which enables children to be more inquisitive through questioning and personal inquiry from the theme. This is a new journey for the school, and we are truly still at the start of it. Nevertheless, there is a sense of freedom to explore creativity within the classroom.
A majority of U.S. high school students say they get bored in class every day, and more than 1 out of 5 has considered dropping out, according to a survey released Wednesday. The survey of 81,000 students in 26 states found 2/3 of high school students complain of boredom. Usually because the subject matter was irrelevant or their teachers didn't seem to care about them.
Well, in 2004 we integrated ticketing in Southeast Queensland, so we introduced a paper ticket that allowed you to travel access all the 3 modes in Southeast Queensland, so bus, train and ferry. And the second stage of integrated ticketing is the introduction of a smart card, and the smart card will enable people to store value, so to put value on the card, and then to use the card for traveling around the system. Well, Alex, the National Association of Realtors is at least putting the champagne on ice. The industry group says the slight rise in sales for previously owned homes shows the housing market is finally stabilizing, which is the first sign of a recovery. Now, that of course is an interpretation of the numbers, Alex, and one that's coming from an organization known for being somewhat of a cheerleader for the housing market, since its members are made up of realtors who've been losing a lot of money in the slump. Now, for a more sober view, I talked to Wellesley housing economist Carl Case, and he says the slight uptick in sales hardly offsets the fact that numbers are down 20% from the year before.
In animals, a movement is coordinated by a cluster of neurons in the spinal cord called the central patterns generator, CPG. This produces signals that drive muscles to contract rhythmically in a way that produces running or walking, depending on the pattern of pulses. A simple signal from the brain instructs the CPG to switch between modes such as going from a standstill to walking.
I'm a big fan of gap years. I took one myself, so I'm probably biased. I think that if you've got something you want to do in the year before you come to university, that you should do it. And a lot of students who want to study a biology degree actually want to go off and travel and perhaps work on a conservation project. And of course, that's all very good. It will contribute towards your degree and your preparation for that. And then when you come to us, you'll be ready for your studies. So if there's something you really want to do, then my advice is to go for it.
An economist sees the world basically through a typical microeconomic toolkit that involves things like thinking at the margin, rationality, opportunity cost, trade-offs. Economists, like any other discipline or dogma, has its own jargon and its own rules and its own way of seeing the world. So basically economics, or economists in general, tend to apply microeconomic concepts like that to explain the way humans behave and to make predictions about the future.
So it's a fantastic place to be a puffin. There are no ground predators, there is protection. On the other hand, if you're going to increase in numbers, and we increased from 5 pairs then to 2,000 pairs in 1972. When I started up to about 80,000 pairs in 2003, you've got to have a lot of food. I mean, you've got to have a hell of a lot of fish, however small a bird that you are. And there seems to be profound changes in the North Sea where man removed all the large fish, the large cod, the haddock and those sorts of things, for human consumption. And the numbers of small fish increased, and this allowed the seabirds to increase. You've got a lot of big fish that are of no use to seabirds, they're just too big. I mean, puffins will only eat fish up to about 20 centimeters long. Anything bigger than that is safe from a puffin.
I'd recommend that you all try to get hold of English in the Southern Hemisphere by Nolan and Watts, as this provides an excellent overview of the topics that we're going to be covering in this module. It's really our primary text. It has particularly strong sections on the history of English in Australia and New Zealand, examining in some depth how the language has developed in these countries. The sections on phonology and on vocabulary will be invaluable when you're doing the written assignment, which I'm going to be telling you about in a moment once I've given you the details of a couple of other essential references. An important question about education is, then, why do some types of students achieve success easily and others struggle to do well? Well, one theory is that there is a genetic reason for academic achievement. What I mean by that is, a certain innate, measurable level of intelligence. Another frequently discussed theory is environmental factors, such as the effect of home and family upbringing. A final reason is related to the teaching and learning process within educational institutions, and the way it is organized, administered and assessed.
Barred owls can be found in dense forests right across North America. They feed on small mammals, fish, birds and small reptiles, pretty much anything that comes their way. The barred owl grows up to 1/2 meter tall and has emerged as a very adaptable nocturnal predator. Whereas they have been long thought to live in old-growth forests, they are now building up quite an urban population. In Charlotte, North Carolina, barred owls tend to nest in the cavities of the numerous willow oak trees that line the city streets. Far from being endangered, the owls have expanded their range, and now, in some places, conservationists are worried about the effects they might have on other native species.
Before the beginning of the 1900s, the only way to obtain pearls was by collecting very large numbers of pearl oysters from the ocean floor by hand. The oysters, or sometimes mussels, were brought to the surface, opened and searched. More than a ton of these had to be checked in order to find just 3 or 4 quality pearls. Divers often descended to depths of over 100 feet on just one single breath. Now, of course, this exposed them to hostile creatures and dangerous waves, not to mention drowning. In some areas, divers put grease on their bodies to conserve heat, and they held a large object, like a rock, to descend, so they didn't have to exert effort going down. Today, pearl diving has pretty much been supplanted by cultured pearl farms. Particles are implanted in the oyster to encourage the formation of pearls, and this allows for more predictable production. The divers who still work do so mainly for the tourist industry.
Almost everyone has heard of the London Stock Exchange, but relatively few know anything about the London Metal and Commodity Exchanges. Yet these markets have a greater influence on world economies because they set global prices for some of the essential raw materials for industry and food manufacture. The LME provides 3 basic services to the world's non-ferrous metal trade. First, it is a market where large or small quantities of metal of a guaranteed minimum standard can be bought and sold on specific trading days. Second, it acts as a barometer of world metal prices. And third, it is a hedging medium. That is, it can help traders get some protection from price fluctuations that occur for economic, political, or financial reasons.
Learning a language in the classroom is never easy, and quite frankly, it's not the way that most people would choose to learn if they had other options. Having said that, there are plenty of reasons for keeping languages on the school curriculum. For one thing, a fair number of students go on to take jobs in business and commerce that require a basic knowledge of a second language. When you talk to young employees in top companies, it seems that they had a career plan from the start. They were motivated to find additional things to put on their CVs, and of course language is one of those added but significant extras.
The assignment that I'm going to set for the holiday period is one that we've given students for a number of years. It's quite practical and will allow you to get out and about. It's no good being shut up in your rooms all the time. It does have a written element too. Basically, it's a data gathering exercise, and there are 2 choices with regard to how you collect the data. We'll go through those in a moment. I'm also going to give you a link to an internet site that is, well, it's critical that you review this before you do anything, as it provides us a lot of guidance on data presentation, both in terms of how you plot it, its diagrammatic form, and also its description, which has to be clear.
This week we're going to be continuing our discussion of women in society. Last week, we looked at a number of issues relating to women in education. If you remember, we discussed women both at school and at university. Today, we're going to be considering the roles that women play in the workplace. Again, we'll start by taking a historical perspective, and inevitably you'll find that many of the same events that impacted on women in education also had a major influence on their working lives. In the second half of the lecture, I'll concentrate on the situation in Europe today and I'll invite you to suggest how you think things are likely to develop over the next decade. Okay, so let's get started.
To be honest, the biggest problem for most undergraduate students in terms of academic writing is not only adapting to a far more structured and formal style, but also learning how to ascertain the difference between important, valid information and unnecessary or even irrelevant material. In my experience, I would say it takes students their first year, if not longer, to appreciate what is required and to start to implement those requirements in their writing. What they really should be doing, if they are struggling with written assignments, is to seek help from the excellent support services which are available at the university.
We hope to have something meaningful to say in our next book about the efficacy of advertising. This is a huge question that impacts everything from commerce to politics to journalism. But for now, let me give one example. My kids were recently watching a Yankees-Red Sox day game on TV, broadcast on the YES network. One of the commercials was an anti-smoking ad, placed, I believe, by the city of New York. It was a gritty documentary-style spot, featuring a surgeon talking to the camera, then showing the patient he was about to operate on. The patient was a man whose toes were blackened and rotting away. The image of the foot was extremely disgusting. "It's gangrene," the surgeon said, and then he drew on the man's leg with a marker to show where he was about to take his hacksaw and cut off the leg. The ad made a huge impression on my 5-year-old daughter. Hours later, she asked out of the blue, "Are you still thinking about that boy's foot?" She couldn't eat dinner that night since she was still thinking about the disgusting image. She's definitely more scared of seeing that foot again than she is of seeing the Wicked Witch of the West again. We talked about it for quite a while. I explained that smoking is bad for you, even though in the old days people actually thought smoking was good for you. And now the message they're sending is that nobody should smoke. Will this ad work? Will it cause a young person who sees it to never smoke cigarettes? Also, is this kind of imagery appropriate for broadcast during a program, a daytime baseball game that young kids will be watching?